My therapist dumped me 2 days after Valentine's Day, and I made a joke, because obviously that's what I do in therapy, I make jokes. Every now and again you get a little giggle, and you're like, okay, we're on the same wavelength, and I was like, oh, you're dumping me? And she was like, yeah, I think I've taken you as far as I can take you. I was like, you what?
Hi, besties. Taylor James. Welcome to the Single Besties Podcast.
Thank you for having me. Long time coming, this one is.
This is so special. We'll get into it, but you were my first podcasting friend.
I literally said the same thing today. They're like, oh, you're recording late, because obviously it's 9 o'clock in the evening here, and this is like my bedtime. And they were like, oh, you're recording late. I was like, this podcast recording is 4 years in the making. And they were like, what do you mean 4 years? I was like, 4 years in the making.
We kept saying we're going to wait till we were in person, but you're across the pond, if you can't tell already.
And to be fair, there was plans. I was moving to New York, you were visiting London, and people who will listen to this will know just as chaotic as your life is. People who will listen to this who know me will know just how chaotic my life is. So as you can imagine, chaos happened and we didn't make it across the pond.
The chaos is part of being a creative entrepreneur.
Is it?
I think.
Because that's not what my therapist said.
Yeah, mine either. Do you ever wonder secretly if your therapist listens to your podcast?
Well, mine dumped me. So I don't have it. My therapist dumped me 2 days after Valentine's Day. And I made a joke, because obviously that's what I do in therapy, I make jokes. Every now and again you get a little giggle, and you're like, okay, we're on the same wavelength. And I was like, oh, you're dumping me? And she was like, yeah, I think I've taken you as far as I can take you. And I was like, you what? Do you mean as far as you can take me? Like, I need you.
Talk about a breakup. Welcome to this. This is a different kind of breakup. How
Single
does that make you?
besties.
Have you found a new one?
Nah, I think I'm all right now. I ain't go through that again.
No. Oh my God. Wait, that's so like on Valentine's Day? How rude.
I know. But also quite on brand. So... So it's all for the content.
It's all for the plot. And
Exactly.
Valentine's Day is overrated.
Exactly.
Okay, I
She's
like to
brilliant,
start.
though, so
She's
sorry.
brilliant. She's probably a fan.
Was.
You are so silly.
All right, sorry. I'll be serious now.
Okay, be serious. Okay, so this is a serious podcast. Okay, so we like to start the podcast with a question. When is the last time you went on a date?
I don't think I've actually been on a date this year.
Oh.
Yeah. And it's summer. How sad does that sound? No, because no, I have.
You're not the only person that's had that answer, just so you know. Like, people are not just out here.
Okay.
We're all focused now.
Yeah, we're entrepreneurs now. Sorry, I'm in a relationship with my business. Thank you. I'm not. Please don't put that in. Cut that out. It makes it sound really odd. Do you know what? I don't actually know. I went on a date that I thought was a date, but turned out it wasn't a date. It was
That
just
happens to
catch-up.
guys?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought that just happened to women.
No. So I picked up on a fair few signals that I thought were like, oh, okay, is this a thing? And it wasn't. So it wasn't a thing.
So you're really just focused now. Like, when was your last relationship?
About 2 months ago.
Wait. Okay, Taylor. Okay, I know we have different culture, but okay, you were in a relationship 2 months ago, but your last date hasn't been in the year?
Yeah, because I feel like that's kind of what happens when you get into a relationship. I feel like I don't think you kind of class them as dates when you're in a relationship. You just kind of go off and do things. It's not like, let's go on a date. I don't know if that's a British thing or...
I don't know, because in our, we still try to like prioritize still dating even in a relationship, or that's what I really believe in,
Mm,
like still like carving out that specific time like to do what you were doing while you were dating even when you're in a relationship now.
yeah. No, to be fair, no, I would agree. I would agree. Um, but yeah, okay, to answer the question kind of seriously, I'll stop being a little silly goose now.
I
Um,
love you,
but
silly goose.
but yeah, I think my kind of love language is like music. So I think the last date that I probably went on was probably about 2 months ago or just over. Like we went to a gig. Um, so I think yeah, probably about 2 months ago.
Oh, so you're dating someone, you're not a single bestie.
No, I am single.
Oh, it ended.
Yeah.
Are you okay?
Yes. Fine.
Well, I don't know, you don't have your therapist now. Do we need to turn this into therapy?
No, no. To be fair, it's very like amicable. It's in a kind of it's very kind of it's a good space to be in, and it's not like things ended because it was like a bad like breakup or anything like that. I think it just got to a stage where life got in the way, and I've given such a huge part of my life to like my mom, my sister, running like my family home and stuff like that. And then the podcast took over, and it was kind of like I didn't give myself time to almost catch up or kind of give myself a chance in terms of like what I wanted to do next, whether it's from a career point of view or life in general. Um, but they're still a huge part of my life. Like I think they're incredible. Um, and I don't know, who knows? Never say never. But right now, like I need to be single to kind of give myself that bit of a headspace and a bit of a kind of head start into this next chapter of Taylor.
I love that. This is something I'm always curious to know because I know what I do. It's probably been about 2 months for me too, in the same way. Of how do guys handle breakups? Like, what did you do when you were dealing with that? You said it was amicable, so you knew, but like, it still kind of sucks, you know? You like the person at least.
Yeah, I think you go through like a element of grief. Obviously, it's world known that lads aren't exactly the best when it comes to talking about emotions and this, that, and the other. So I think we just kind of like knuckle down and just kind of like carry on, which isn't great, but we all sit around with the Ben and Jerry's and whack a bit of a dal on and just let it all out. They won't admit it, but it's what happens.
It is. It is. Okay, and you don't have to talk about this if you don't want to. We can like chop it out and post
Okay,
since we're
post.
both podcasters. We'll get there too. Um, you posted recently about like exploring. Are we allowed to talk about that?
Oh, yeah, no, let's go for it. Let's
Okay,
go for it.
okay,
Yeah,
okay.
but I think that was part of the reason as to why everything is happening the way it is now, because I've always done what everyone else has almost like told me to do, or I've always played a role that wasn't mine to play. So then when everything kind of happened with the podcast and I was having these conversations and like from a mental health point of view, like my mind was just kind of completely being blown open with all these coping mechanisms, people's journeys, and there was a huge part of my life that I just never really spoke about at all. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to explore. And like, genuinely, it has probably been the biggest kind of wake up call that I could have had. I was like, oh my God, there's this whole new way of living over here that I never knew existed or like felt like I couldn't explore. Like I'd never struggled from a sexuality point of view or anything like that. It was just I just didn't do it from like both sides, but like men and women. So it was very kind of. I think the time was right. Like I feel like you have to be in a good headspace, whether it is exploring or getting into a relationship or starting something new. You have to be in a position where you're ready rather than just throwing yourself into it and hoping for the best.
Mm, that's so good. That's so good. And I think a lot of people are scared to like explore and try something different. We're just known, what we've known our whole life. Or here, I grew up in the South, and so there's so much shame and guilt around sexuality, whether you're straight, like there's so much of that. So I'm proud of you. And reading that, like I was like, I'm so proud of him. Because
Thank you.
your story is crazy. We literally met like, was it during the pandemic? Had the pandemic
It was
started?
the start of the pandemic. It was around the times I think we both.
It was a
I don't know
Facebook
how
group.
we met. Yeah.
It was a Facebook group, and you had shared that you just started your podcast, and I had just started mine like a couple months before, and you shared the story of your mom and just everything. And I was like, oh my God, this man is a precious soul. I want to be his friend. And so then we just became friend, like internet friends. This is the first
That
time we've
is
ever like
mental.
chatted. Mental.
It's mental,
Now
mate.
you've completely blown up. Like, let's just give a second to have your flowers, like Mr. Ed Sheeran interview. Ed Sheeran. All these crazy, crazy interviews that you've done. You've blown up. Like, first of all, I'm so proud of you, but just take us a little bit into your story, your journey, and all of it.
No, thank you. I still get very clammy about the journey and stuff like that because it was never intended for any of like what's happening now. It was set up because I needed an outlet. I needed to talk. I needed to kind of connect with people because I didn't know what was the hell was going on in my head. But yeah, it all started after I nearly lost my mom to an operation that went horribly wrong. She's now in a neurological care home going through extensive rehab on how to use her hands and communicate. Um, and yeah, the journey was just one kind of event after the other, one constant net like setback. Well, no, constant setbacks all of the time. And yeah, it led me down a very dark path and almost to the rock bottom to a point where I questioned whether I wanted to be here at all. And like, thank my little sister and my best friend, because without them, I genuinely dread to think where I'd be. And then it got to a stage where I was like, okay, I need to start talking about this. um, Put out the first episode, not thinking anything of it really. And then 4 years later, I now have a production company. I've had two sold out live shows. I've had like over 500,000 downloads. And I've interviewed the likes of like Ed Sheeran, Sean Paul, Sophie Alex Bextor, Carol Baskin. Um, it's it's insane. It really is insane. And I'm not saying that from like a gloat point of view at all because I don't quite understand it as to why it's done what it's done. But I feel like if you've got like a real passion for something or, this real kind of like creative outlet, like you've got to go from it because I've wasn't expecting any of this to happen. But I was just very fortunate that I fell in love with something and I thought, you know what? I deserve a chance. I'm going to go for this. And I'm very grateful that it's turned into what it's turned into because I say it quite candidly often, but I genuinely think this podcast saved my life. So yeah, it's been quite the journey.
It gave me chills because I think you deserve it too. Like, you are so kind and so sweet. And what you're doing, like, how you were just so vulnerable and talking about how lads don't talk about their mental health. You are a man out here talking about things, like opening up these conversations, doing something beautiful. Like, I love that.
No, thank you.
It's
Yeah,
hard.
it's yeah. I don't. I get. I just find it really weird because I was raised by a single woman, so everything that I've learned from an incredibly strong woman. So I kind of do break the norm a little bit that I didn't really have a male role model that taught me not to speak. I've never struggled with my emotions, but when the time came for me to talk, I was like, why is no one else talking about this? Like, we cry, everyone cries. So why should we not be talking about it just because we've got a thing between our legs? Like, we should be talking about like all of this stuff. Like, it's normal. And it's like the main thing that I've learned from like all the conversations that I've had, like, it doesn't matter if you've got like millions of pounds in the bank, Grammys sat on your shelf, you're feeling the same level of anxiety, sadness, happiness, like anger, like as what I'm feeling. So yeah, I kind of don't really care who you are, but it's like you just talk about it. It's normal.
Yeah. Has it? helped you, like, moving forward, like, having these conversations and doing this, like, moving forward now when you face something, like, are you able to handle it differently?
100%. I think what it has given me is like it's given me this whole new toolkit that I never knew existed or never knew that I needed. So when those tough days do creep in now, I've got like I guess, yeah, a toolkit that I can pull upon, like whether it's journaling, whether it's like getting out there, like going to the gym, going for a swim, meeting friends. Like it's all these things now that I know what I need to do if I'm starting to spiral a little bit. Um, so yeah, it's massively helped.
How is your mom doing now?
She's good, to be fair. She's still giving me hell as she did before all of this happened. Obviously, life looks very different at the moment. Obviously, her quality of life isn't great, but she's in a fantastic care home. They look after her like, yeah, they're incredible. But yeah, she's doing well. She's doing well. She's got a
Is she
long,
so
long way to go, but
does she, like, is she so proud of you? Like, does she know the the capacity of what you're doing?
yeah, she does. And it's weird. No, because I get really choked up about this because obviously I know full well that I wouldn't have what I have now if it wasn't for what had happened. So it's a weird one. There's a weird layer of guilt with this kind of stuff. However, when I did my live shows and like I'd rehearsed so much, like the first one she was supposed to come to, she got admitted to hospital 2 days before, so she couldn't. So the only reason I did another one was to make sure that she could get there. I rehearsed and rehearsed for weeks. I walked out and the first face that I saw was hers in the front row and I crumbled. I went to pieces on that stage. But yeah, even the weekend just gone, like I walked into a room, I go and like a visitor like a couple of times a week, and she was sat there in a chair, um, in her waffle shop hoodie.
Oh, that's so
Yeah.
precious. No, I'm about to cry. I'm about to cry.
Yeah.
That's so special. That's so special. And the guilt thing does make sense, but
Mm.
you're doing
You've got to
amazing.
trust the process, haven't you, with these things? Like
Mm.
I could have gone down a very different path with all of this, and I look at the situation that I'm in now, like the man I've become because of this, the ripple effect it's had on people around me, like the legacy it's almost created because of what's happened. And even now, when I have people in the studio, like the fact that from something so painful and traumatic has created this space for other people to tell their stories, to be vulnerable, to open up. It's there hasn't been a day where I haven't kind of had that moment of like, wow, this is this is actually something quite beautiful. Um, it's yeah, it's so surreal.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. There's always, like, in the most painful stuff in life, it sucks so bad, but there always is a purpose in it. It sucks to
Yes,
say,
there
but
is.
like but turning it not there's not a purpose for it. Like I'm not
Mm.
happy that there's no purpose that this happened to your mom, but like turning the pain into purpose is a beautiful thing. So I didn't know you were raised by a single mom.
Yeah,
Your
another
mom is
single
a single
bestie.
bestie.
Yeah.
We love that.
See, ticking every box on this today.
What was that like? What was it like to grow up with a single mom?
At the time, I don't think I appreciated just how hard it was for her. Until everything happened, and then I almost had to do everything that she was doing. Um, and then realized like, oh God, she did this every day for years. It's like, won't be doing this again. But yeah, no, it was incredibly tough at times. But yeah, I think that's where the resilience comes from. Like she has not ever given up, regardless of what is put in that woman's like path. She does not give up. like she's beat COVID 2, 3 times. She's been in comas. She's had multiple strokes, and she is still giving me hell on a daily basis.
That's
So
so
yeah,
beautiful.
she's remarkable. She's my biggest inspiration. So yeah, what a woman.
Honest, honestly, mine too. Okay, I love that. Okay. I want to talk about since you are our first can I say never mind. I was gonna say you're our first foreigner on the podcast.
Oh God,
I don't
single
know.
foreigner. God, any other labels you want to throw at me? Single
Amazing.
foreign bisexual podcaster. Yeah, go on, reel them off. Come on. How you just
Amazing,
okay.
funny, handsome.
No, stop that.
Okay, what is okay, so I know what dating here is like. Kind of
Yeah.
not good. We got the apps, we got things. What is dating like
Yeah.
over there? Do you guys have apps? Like, what do you guys do?
So
You
I
just
think we
like go
use all
to
the
the
same
pub.
ones.
You go
Go
to
to
the
the
pub
pub.
and listen to Ed Sheeran.
Ed Sheeran. Yes. Maybe that's why we're all single. Maybe that's where we're going wrong. No, I think it's very much similar. Like we've got like Hinge, Tinder, one that I haven't used, which I don't know if they have over your side of the pond, but in like the kind of the LGTB, LGBTQ. I'm still
Yeah, you
very new to
missed your
this.
letter.
Yeah, I missed my letter there. In that community, there's an app called Grinder, which is I've heard is a whole new ball game. Um,
It
yeah, I
is.
think it's yeah.
Whole is a lot of words you can say.
Yeah. So I think it's just as dreadful over here as it is over there. I
Really?
think it's also, yeah, but I also think it's quite difficult because we're from a quite a, well, in the scheme of things, I think where I live, it's quite a big city, but it's almost got like a quite a small man, like small man, small men's men, no, small town mentality. Because it feel like everyone knows everyone and like everyone knows someone who's been with someone. And obviously you get to a certain age and you just kind of like, well, I just want to branch out a little bit. I want almost like something new.
Mm.
So yeah, it's
Hop
it's a
across
tricky
the
one.
pond.
Across the pond.
No, because in my brain, like how I imagine like a London, like I just love that Taylor Swift song, like London Boy. So like I just imagine a lot of like meet cutes, like you meet in the wild, like at a little pub or something. So that doesn't have, it's like the same.
Yeah, I don't think that happens. Although sometimes we go to like summer balls and,
What is
like
that?
garden parties where we play like croquet, and yeah, there'll be that does not happen. Taylor Swift's a liar. Joking, big fan.
Big fan, would love to have her on the pod.
Yeah, but love to have that one. But yeah, no, I think dating at any age is difficult because I think I'm in my 30s now and I'm kind of at a stage where if we're not getting married, I kind of don't want to know.
Yeah.
Because I haven't got time to be. Do you know what is annoying? The get
What?
to know chat. Like, I
Oh,
don't want to get to know someone new. Like, the thought of going through, like, it's all
what's
right
your
on a
favorite
podcast, you can have a
color?
laugh. Yeah, like, oh my God, what's your like Chinese restaurant order or what music do you listen to? I'm just like, I just send them a link to the podcast and just like, just like and subscribe. Take what
Okay,
information you need.
we're so
Go on.
we're
It's
so
easier.
different because I literally like when I am swiping or meeting someone new, I like don't tell them about the podcast because I don't want them to listen. I don't want them to know. I will like I will only send them my personal profile and I'll
Yeah.
remove my podcast from the link. Like I am so weird about it. So you'll just like send it to them?
No, but someone did tell me that it was an ick when they were said like, "Oh, what do you do for a job?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm a podcast host and a producer. And they were like, "Oh, you have a podcast?" I was like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Ick. So what do you do? Just sit around and talk about yourself?" I was like, "Actually, yes." but, but
Okay, well,
no, I have
she's an egg.
shares. Yeah. I was like, right, okay, so I guess this is over.
Okay, well, you're just in the wrong place because, like, out here in LA, everyone's a producer, an artist, like, ick, you know?
Oh, really? Maybe I am just in the wrong place.
Yeah.
But then I used to kind of dine out on the whole kind of like, oh, everyone loves like a chubby British guy. Now everyone hates James Corden, so I'm kind of feel like he's ruined it for me.
They still love him.
Do
A
they?
chubby English guy. Dad
Oh,
bods are
okay.
in.
Okay. Okay. I didn't say dad bods, but okay. Thank you for that.
You said okay.
I'm joking.
I got a
I'm
mom
joking.
bod probably. Who knows?
We're fine. We're fine.
You did make a great point. Like when you're dating and being grown, and marriage is the goal for me at least. That's my goal. And then when you're dating someone, you talk about that, and then you break up. That's what makes the breakups like worse. It makes you just like not want to like kind of do it anymore. That's where I'm at. Like I was in a relationship and I was like, I thought it was it, whatever. Let's run to the chapel. And then it ends and you're just like, it's grief. It's It's like I had this whole life in my head and now I gotta like freaking rewrite my
This pod,
podcast.
yeah, again. So now, not only do I feel like shit, I've got to come on and talk about the shit. Thanks. No, but you are like absolutely like spot on, and I think that's why it's important to have those kind of conversations like quite early on because I mean, there's nothing worse than kind of catching the feels, getting to a certain level of like, okay, I can see this going somewhere, and then being like, so do you want children? No. I'm like, oh, but I kind of do want kids. And it's like, I know relationships are about compromise and stuff like that, but from someone who has spent quite a large portion of his life so far compromising my own life and what my own needs are, if you're kind of not meeting me at that level, almost like very early on, I don't think I would allow a relationship to develop further, which kind of is a little bit cutthroat, but at the same time, like I haven't really got time to be messing around.
Mm.
Like I'm all for like doing what you need to do if that's what you're looking for, but yeah, I feel like long term you want someone who's going to be stood by your side.
And there's some things you can't compromise on. Like if you want a kid and the person doesn't want a kid, that's not really you're always going to have like resentment if
Yeah,
you do keep something going longer than you want.
no, it is. It's a tough one to navigate, but I think
Mm.
honesty from the get go needs to be there. Because yeah, like I said, like if you get like further on down the line, then all of a sudden you realize like you don't align. One, you've invested a hell of a lot of time, money, like effort, energy, um, for not a lot of return. Yes, you've got the memories, and obviously you can kind of label it as a lesson in terms of like, okay, well, next time I'm going to have these conversations like very much early on. But yeah, honesty is the best policy when it comes to this kind of stuff. I believe, anyway.
I believe too.
Yeah. Okay.
I believe too. I have two quick questions before we wrap this waffle up. You like what I
Hey,
did
oh,
there?
look at rebranding your podcast again. That name is taken.
Okay, I love the name a waffle. Like, let's have a waffle. Like, can you tell me what that means? That wasn't my question, but like, tell the people what that means
It's just basically a very
for these
English.
ignorant
Yes.
Americans.
Bloody foreigners. I'm no joking. Can I say that? No, I don't
Yeah.
know. This is like the last time we record. First and last time. It's just a very kind of British way of saying like a chat. Like I used to get told I was like a waffle on sometimes, as you can probably tell. But yeah, it was just a very kind of like it's a chat. It's not a serious chat, but it can just be you can have a waffle about anything, can't you? So
Oh my gosh, this is just like so. I love the Love Island UK. Do you watch it?
I've watched past series of it, but I'm not
The one
watching
with
this current
Molly.
one.
The one with Molly May is just the best one. But okay, this also wasn't a question, but when you said have a chat, like
I
that's
got a
my favorite.
text. Ah,
That's my favorite. Like, can I pull you for a chat? Like, and what I learned, like, from watching that show, I was like, ah, British guys like talk about their feelings. Like, I could never just pull a guy for a chat and like talk about it. So that's why I was like asking if there is differences. But like, has that show impacted the dating culture? Like, do the girls all look like that now?
no, no. And I think, no, that sounded very judgmental. No. But I think for my generation, it hasn't. I would say from a younger generation, I feel like there's probably a lot of younger people looking up to these kind of like Love Islanders, thinking that's what they need to look like, that's what they need to be like in order to find love, which is quite toxic in my eyes because regardless of what you look like, everyone can find love. It's very difficult. And I'm chatting absolute shit here because it's it's very difficult. Um, but yeah, no, I don't think it's impacted the UK dating scene at all. If anything, I think people in Britain are now looking for people who aren't like that.
Oh,
I
well, we
think.
love it over here.
Yes. This is someone's doing something right. Oh,
I
there's
don't know
no in
where that.
between, is there? It's either the like period dramas or like really trashy like reality TV
I
or
don't even watch.
baking.
I don't even watch the American Love Island because I'm like, you guys can't do it like they do it.
Yeah. Yeah, we do a lot of things right, I think, over here. We do a lot of things wrong as well, to be fair. So yeah, I don't know where I was going with
So do we.
that.
We won't get started. This isn't a political podcast. Anyway, okay, this was a question and you might not want to answer it, so we can cut it out.
Okay.
You started the podcast. This is just like a selfish question. You started the podcast with a partner, and my brain goes, does he ever like reach out? Does he like see your stuff and weep? Like the hate. I'm like, hate. It's like, is he a hater? Like, I need to know. Did you guys rekindle?
We tried to. And
Hmm.
bearing in mind, like I nearly finished the podcast after 4 episodes because of him. I was just like, something feels off. Like, I don't think this is the right thing to be doing. And at the time, like, because of the partner he had, who I think he's still with, I wasn't allowed to have females on the show. I wasn't allowed to have celebrities on the show. And obviously, back then, I was like, well, we're never going to get celebrities on this. Like, we're never going to do that. And we're also like, but I would talk to anyone. Like, obviously, I was raised by women. I live with my little sister. So
Yeah.
talking to women is a very natural thing for me to do. Anyway, it got to a stage where he kind of just like, oh, well, it's more your thing anyway. Um, now look at me.
I love you.
No, I'm joking. I'm joking. I wish him nothing but the best. But yeah, I think it has happened. It was a relationship that had to come to an end. I think I started to grow and I realized there was a lot of toxic behavior there. There was a lot of like manipulation, almost like borderline, like bullying. And now I look back at that, I'm like, what the hell were you playing at, Taylor? But yeah, we see each other. Like we ignore each other. We've seen each other at parties. I was behind him in the queue in Starbucks a few weeks ago, and we just kind of ignored each other. Um, but it is what it is. Like, I wish him all the best. But I'm very proud of myself for sticking to my gut and being like, this was my idea. And yeah, 4 years later, obviously, it was clearly the right thing to do. So,
Yes, it was. I am so proud of you. The final question that we always end on is, and you already kind of mentioned it earlier, that someone said one about you, but what is an ick that you have about a dating ick, about girls,
oh,
guys, whatever?
do you know what? This is going to sound really, it might sound really odd, but what I find quite icky is when people wear Nike shoes with Adidas socks or vice versa. And
Yes.
I don't know what it is because I didn't know it was the thing. And then I was just thought, I think it's just because I'm quite a consistent person,
Yes.
both personally and professionally. And I think when someone's wearing Nike socks with Adidas shoes or vice versa, I just feel like, oh, like, no,
I
no.
like that you say Nikes.
What you? Oh, Nike. Sorry, Nike.
It took me a
Nikes.
minute because I was like, Nikes. And then you said Adidas. So I knew.
Sorry,
Okay.
little miss. What is it? Aluminum. Come
How do
on,
you say it?
aluminium.
No, you don't. You're joking.
No,
You're
yes, we do. It's like aluminium fall. Oh, there we go. That was a
foil.
strong argument. Foil.
Full. Foil.
Yeah,
I'm from the South,
aluminium.
so I say like full. Like, you can't even
As in
understand
fall,
that. Okay,
like
but I have a
fall over.
question.
Okay, sorry.
So what if someone has a New Balance pair of shoes, but they don't have New Balance socks? Because I just got a pair of New Balance and I mostly have Nikes
Yeah,
and Adidas. So what socks am I supposed to wear?
that is a good point. I don't have the answer to that, actually.
Do I have to get
Good
New
choice.
Balance
Good.
socks?
I don't know. Maybe I also learned this recently as well. Like it's like a millennial and Gen Z thing. You can tell like what category they fall into, whether they're wearing like a trainer sock
Tall
or
socks or short
a tall.
socks?
Yeah. So maybe with the New Balance, I would go for a short sock.
No, I always wear long socks because I'm young.
Oh yeah. Sorry. Well then, I'm sorry, Montana. You're gonna have to prepare to be someone's ick.
Taylor, this was so wholesome and sweet and just made my heart happy. It gave me inspiration. Is there anything else you want to share? Anything else you're cooking? Where can people chat stream the waffles?
um, Anywhere on social media, just search for the Waffle Shop. I'll be there. But I think what I would leave with is more so to you and to your listeners is that just don't give up. Don't give up. You rebrand as much as you want to. You kind of rebirth you as much as you want to, but do not ever give up, Montana. You've got something special. Like 4 years in the making, it was worth every moment of it. My face is aching. I'm sweating. So just don't give up.
I truly feel like the first, like, Tana had to die because the first 4 years were just practice. Because the way I felt over the last month is like like
Yeah.
you said, a rebirth. Like
Sorry she
lots of
can't come to
things
the phone
cooking.
right now. She's dead.
Oh, look what you
See?
made. See?
Exactly.
You are a Swiftie.
Exactly.
Go to
Waffle
the
Shop,
Black
Taylor's
version.
version.
Taylor's.
The what?
You have to be a Swiftie.
Obviously, she robbed my name. To be fair, I think she was born first. Yeah, she was born in 1989, obviously. I'm a 90s baby.
Obviously. Okay, well, I love this. This made me happy. I cannot wait to see more of the amazing things you do. Okay.
Right back at you. It's been a pleasure.
I love you, besties. I mean it. Bye.